During the 1960s, the NASCAR manufacturers' wars were heating up. Late in 1963, after seeing Chrysler develop its second-generation Hemi based on the 426 wedge engine, Ford was caught off guard. They knew it was going to be a serious performer and realized that they needed to counter it with their own, but were running out of time before the start of the 1964 NASCAR season. Then began what was called the 90-day wonder.
From side to side, as much as 15 degrees, which obviously affected performance. Engineers did their jobs, the foundry and machining division did their jobs, and soon, Ford had assembled and tested 427 single overhead cam engines ready to go for the 1964 NASCAR season. Definitely a 90-day wonder. But it was all for naught, as NASCAR banned the engine from competition for the 1964 season due to it being considered a special performance engine and not a production one. Not to be deterred, and knowing they had the basis for a great engine, Ford not Gordon Cooper. At that time, the Mercury astronauts were our nation's heroes. Gordon Cooper was known for driving hot cars, and Ford wanted him behind the wheel of that 66 427 single overhead cam Galaxy. Few photos exist of Gordon Cooper in that Galaxy except for this publicity photo taken by Ford to promote the partnership. It's not known how long Gordon Cooper kept the car, but at some point it was returned to Ford and presumed destroyed, along with the two other 427 single overhead cam test vehicles that we know about. Could one of them, specifically the Cooper car, survived? It's possible, but unlikely. Ford, like all manufacturers, made it a habit to destroy all test vehicles due to liability issues that could come from selling them, but stories do pop up once in a while about the one that got away and ended up found in a hay barn in the middle of nowhere. Ford never gave up on getting the 427 single overhead cam engine into NASCAR competition, and after again being denied in 1965, they finally received approval in 1966 to race it, but only in a full-size car. Then all that came crashing down when NASCAR reversed its decision and banned it once again. That ruling put the final nail in the coffin for the hopes of Ford ever competing in NASCAR with the 427 single overhead cam engine. Development of the 427 single overhead cam Galaxy continued through 1966. Ford was so serious about the possibility that two engine VIN codes were assigned for two different 427 single overhead cam production engines. There was the L code 427 single overhead cam engine, which had single 4-barrel induction, 616 horsepower, and 515 pound-feet of torque. And the M code 427 single overhead cam engine that had two 4-barrel induction, 656 horsepower, and 575 pound-feet of torque. Power output numbers are all according to Ford factory specs. Prototype parts from the development of the 427 single overhead Galaxy program still exist to this day. Prototype cast iron tubular headers were designed and created for the 427 single overhead cam engine to allow it to be fit into the 1965 through 1967 Ford Galaxy full-size chassis. There's an estimated 2 to 3 sets of these tubular headers still in existence and in the hands of private collectors. Toward what would be the end of the 427 single overhead cam Galaxy development program, Ford was also developing the new 428 Cobra Jet engine. Seeing that the production and race variants of the 428 Cobra Jet were the future, Ford ended the idea of the 427 single overhead cam engine making it into any production vehicle. In fact, after 1968, all 427 engines ceased being installed in production cars, with the 1968 Cougar 427 GTE being the last car ever produced with a 427 engine in it. Over the next several years, racers like Pete Robinson and Connie Coletta continued racing and refining the 427 single overhead cam engine in NHRA top fuel. Timing chains were swapped with ones with chromoly links or custom gear drives. Connecting rods were upgraded and power levels soared to over 2,500 horsepower with nitromethane. The new problem racers found was that the original Ford engine blocks they had to work with broke every 8 to 10 runs at that power level. Pete Robinson was quoted as saying, "If someone would have developed a stronger aftermarket block, the history of top fuel racing might have been different." So that begs the question, if Ford would have installed the 427 single overhead cam engine in production vehicles and offered them to the public, would muscle car history have been different too? Obviously, nobody knows that answer, but one thing is for sure, if Ford would have done it, it would have been an incredible muscle car.